So, what does a futurist do? I was talking to some friends of mine, and they asked me, "Hey, what is strategic foresight? What do you do as a futurist?" So, let me share my response with you. Hello, everyone. This is Glen Guyton, workforce futurist and strategist, helping you to make sense of leadership in the AI era and this age of disruption. So, what does a futurist do? What is strategic foresight? I know before I got involved in it, a friend of mine is a futurist. I thought she was like a magician, like a genie. Like she knew so much about the world. She understood how things fit together. She could see trends. It was like she knew what was going to happen before it happened. And so it's almost like I thought she was magical in some way or another. But can futurists predict the future? No, they can't. Can they help you prepare for what is most likely to happen? Yes, they can. Can they predict something wildly and weirdly unknown taking place? Maybe. Will they get it wrong most of the time? Probably. So what does a futurist do? I think if you really just look at the most basic understanding of strategic foresight, it's about strategy, right? Strategic foresight is really not about predicting the future. It's preparing for the unknown, right? It's analyzing data, trends, listening to signals to help make sense of what often seems like unorganized chaos. But if you really start to look at the world and start to examine what's going on around you, there are always signs. So I would say a futurist in some sense helps you read the signs, the signals, read the tea leaves to help you see what may happen or what's most likely to happen and help you prepare for it. That's it, bottom line. And I think everyone should engage in some type of foresight because it's not magic. Really, it's just paying attention to what's going on in the world around you and seeing what patterns emerge. I think many of us go through life with blinders on. We're just ignoring everything that's happening around us, and we get so locked into our little individual bubble that we can't see the big picture. And I think futurists help us to see the big picture. So, can a futurist help you with understanding everything? No, I don't think so. I don't think they can do it and do it well. I think that futurists have their niches. There are some futurists that are technology futurists. I am a workforce futurist because there's so much information, so much data. I can't pay attention to everything. No one futurist can pay attention to everything that's going on in the world. So you need specialists, right? You just like doctors. You have some doctors that are, general practitioners, but you don't want a GP taking out your liver, right? No, you're going to go to a liver specialist. What's a liver specialist? I don't know what a liver doctor is. It's not a podiatrist, it's a foot doctor. Yeah. An ophthalmologist, eye doctor. I don't know what liver doctors are called, but pate doctors. So you would go to a liver doctor if you wanted something was going on with your, maybe it's a gastroenterologist. Is that put the word in the chat. Help me out. I'm not an English teacher. I'm a futurist. So they have specialties so they can really get down deep into certain industries. Again, I like the human aspect of this work. I like understanding how technology influences human behavior and how that translates into what's going to happen in the workforce. So I specialize in that area, that branch of futurism. Now, you would be amazed at the groups that are involved in strategic foresight. The U.S. military. I just read a study from 2015 on basically the Marine Corps' threat assessment using strategic foresight techniques. It was amazing. It was phenomenal. And some of the things that they talked about in 2015, which it took them some time to get that study together, but the things they talked about in 2015 are happening now as we embark on this war with Iran. Some of the things in that 2015 report are some of the realities that we are dealing with now. And I do wonder if the government, the people in charge now, are paying attention to that 2015 report, because there's some good stuff in there, some good warnings, some good explanation of the signals that are happening. So again, if you read that report, you never know what or where exactly to pay attention to some of these reports. Again, because the Futurist is going to give you some options. We're going to talk about a preferred future, most likely future. Maybe there's a future that's just out in that field. Sometimes those things all come true. Sometimes none of them come true. And so you still have to be thoughtful as a leader to understand, like, okay, where am I going to focus my efforts? And am I going to go all in on my preferred future or what I really think is going to happen? Or am I going to devote some time and energy to this crazy, wild idea, like a global pandemic that might not happen, but the signals are out there? That's the rub, right? That's the artistic part about being a futurist and being a leader, right? That practices strategic foresight. Another group that's really involved in strategic foresight is evangelical Christians. It's wild to me. The evangelical Christians have invested a lot of time and money into strategic foresight. I won't go into too much depth about that, but it is shaping the behavior of some religious organizations. I have a background in religion, working with a number of Christian denominations, but it's amazing to me that the military and prominent Christian institutions are both thinking about strategic foresight. Why? Because they're looking at the impact of technology on human behavior. They're looking at the impact of the declining birth rate. They're looking at the impact of educational changes. They're looking at the impact of technology on resources and what that does for human behavior. So there are so many things that are so connected that we need to pay attention to. And sometimes we get so caught up in the day-to-day operations of our institutions that we can't think about the future. But you know what? Something's going to happen. Something unpredictable is going to happen in your organization, in your personal life. And so what is your insurance policy? Maybe I should say that not only do futurists help you read the tea leaves or read the signals, and we can talk about signals in another episode, another podcast. But the other thing that they do is provide an insurance policy. We all have some form of insurance, whether it's car insurance, home insurance, umbrella coverage. And the amount of insurance we have really depends on our comfort level with risk, right? So a futurist is like an insurance policy. Now, how much you invest in strategic Foresight is kind of like how much insurance are you going to buy? You can't buy insurance to cover everything, right? You have a deductible. So if you have more money, you may say, hey, I have $20,000 cash, so I'm going to raise my deductible so I have lower insurance premiums, because if something happens, I have a backup plan already. If you can't take a lot of risk, you say, I may need a lower insurance deductible, so that if something happens, I need them to cover more of my loss. This is how we probably should think about strategic foresight. What's your deductible going to be? How much insurance can you afford to have or not have? So that's a little bit about strategic foresight. Hopefully that gives you a better sense of what a real world, real life futurist does. Oil companies really got into the futurist space decades ago. Again, we have religious institutions, religious educational institutions involved in strategic foresight. We have the U.S. military involved in strategic foresight. So why aren't you? Why aren't you covering your bets? Why aren't you paying attention to the signals out there? And why aren't you preparing for the unknown? I don't know why you aren't, but my name is Glen Guyton, workforce futurist and strategist. You know what? You all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.